In the distance, there's a gazebo standing on the top of the hill, where it's actually part of the imperial city, not the Forbidden City, which is right outside the Forbidden City. Where offers a panoramic view of the Forbidden City, the place where is a garden, where the emperor or hanging out back in the day. That was the place where the last emperor in the Ming committed suicide by hanging himself in 1644. Here now we are standing on the highest elevation inside the Forbidden City, where we can view these two tallest buildings in the city of Beijing. So that one with a long spire on the top of the building, that used to be the tallest building in Beijing 20 years ago. That's called China Central Television Station Broadcasting Tower, 405 meters tall. And now that building is the tallest in Beijing currently, standing at 535 meters tall, 108 floors above the ground and 7 floors below the ground. That area is called CBD, Central Business District. Yeah. And I follow my finger to that way. There's a clock. That is a clock tower, clock building. That is the first shopping mall established in Beijing after 1949. And there's a street standing right in front of that mall. It's called Wang Fujing Shopping Street or Walking Street, like the 5th Avenue of Beijing. Very busy, bustling, hustling area. So that area has like 1,000 stores and a restaurant. You can find all these popular cuisines in Beijing: Peking duck, hot pot, noodles, and dumpling in that area. Okay. And here, this is the Middle Harmony, which used to other place where for the emperor to take a rest back in the day, like a super fancy VIP resting chamber. And this building over here, preserving harmony, was a place for the emperor to entertain the ministers, officials back in the day, so served at the banquet hall. And also the place for that famous examination, imperial examinations was taking place back in the day. On that day, 300 scholars come from all over the country would take examination over here. 3 scholars who scored the highest would have the honor to walk in on the marble passage, which was reserved for the emperor only. So, which is deemed as the greatest honor for scholars back in the day. Let's go that way. Now
Do these buildings have heat way back then?
Yeah, they have a heating system underneath the floor. Oh, yeah. Oh, they also have a lot of charcoal stove being placed in many places inside. They established the Qing dynasty. That is one of the 55 ethnic minorities in this country who had their own language, own culture, as well as their own written system. They have their own characters. That's why the plaque is written in 2 languages.
What is the ethnic majority? Is it called Chinese?
Han.
Han.
Actually, me, Jay, pretty much everybody you're seeing here, well, Han Chinese.
Okay.
And 91% of Chinese people composed by Han. Another 9% composed by 55 ethnic minorities. Most of them have their own culture, language, and written characters, like Manchurian, Tibetan, Mongolian, Zhuang, Dai. There are so many of them out there.
What about people like from Hong Kong? They speak a different language, right?
That's right.
Cantonese?
That's the Cantonese, but they are also the Han Chinese.
Okay.
But just a different dialect. There are more than 200 dialects are spoken in China.
Okay.
So Cantonese is one of them. But Mandarin is a must learn.
Yeah.
It is mandatory in this country. Even the people coming from north or south, from the different ethnicities, they all speak Mandarin now. So this is one of the ladies' compound. In total, there are 12 compounds to accommodate the empress ladies. One compound consists of 2 major palaces and side buildings. In total, there are around 25 rooms established in this area. Each compound can accommodate from 1 to 10 ladies. Okay. The important ladies or high-ranking ladies would be sleeping in the major palaces, and the smaller ones, the lower-ranking ones, sleeping in the smaller building. And many of these palaces are bat-themed palaces. Chinese people make frequent use of harmophones. It makes sense, harmophone? Yeah. Because the bat has the same pronunciation, has a similar meaning of the happiness. That's why they put a lot of bats in this area. Even on this screen alone, it carries 54 bats. and a longevity song in the middle. Hopefully it will bring the happy life, the fortune, and the longevity to the ladies who lived here. So a lot of used in this area. So agriculture is still big in your towns. Corn?
Corn, yes, but actually in our town there's a factory that makes sugar.
Oh, I see. So sugar cane.
Not from cane, from
No.
beets.
From the beets.
Yeah, have you heard of that? Sugar beets.
Sugar beet. How do you spell? B-E-A?
B-E-E-T.
B-E-E-T.
Yeah. The red beets, but they're sugar, or they're different. They're white, about that big around and that long.
Okay, so different type of sugar.
It's actually the same.
Same.
Chemically, it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah. This glass is new, I would assume. That wouldn't have been there.
It started from from 18th century.
18?
Yeah, they had a glass factory inside the Forbidden City,
But when this building was built,
like paper.
paper. Okay.
Paper. This is the place where the emperor studied English from his English teacher. Yeah. The building has a lot of spiritual cultivation. Does cultivation make sense to you?
Yeah.
A lot of people do not understand the cultivation. Cultivation, you can cultivate the farmland.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you can also cultivate your mind side.
Right.
So that's the what it means in this scenario. So that's the place where the emperor cultivated their minds to, through studying. Over here, it's supposed to be a very quiet place. So the emperor, from 1919 to 1924, he studied English, mathematics, and geography from this Scottish teacher, Reginald Johnston. He lived in China for more than 30 years and has a profound understanding of the Chinese culture, literature, art, and Buddhism. He wrote a lot of books in terms of the Chinese culture. And on top of that, he speaks very good Mandarin. That's why he was selected as an English teacher of the last emperor by the royal family in 1919. He got along very well with the last emperor, tried his best to impart his knowledge to this little boy and help the last emperor open the eyes to the rest of the world. Because most of the time he was being refrained and staying inside the Forbidden City, knowing nothing about outside of the world. But in 1924, they were kicked out of the Forbidden City. He went back to London and worked as a professor of the Chinese literature in the University of London. Meanwhile, he wrote a very famous book. That book is still very popular these days, titled... That's correct. Chronicling his close relationship with the last emperor. Many plots, many scenes in the movie of the last emperor were actually derived from this book. The twilight in the Forbidden City. This is the picture of the last emperor and the Reginald Johnston taken up right on that balcony over there. So this is the last emperor, this is Reginald Johnston, this is the brother of the last emperor. They look very similar because they are from the same mother. And this little boy is the brother-in-law of the last emperor. And we saw the picture of his sister. And this little boy passed away in 2007, not long ago. There are two more boys over here holding the tennis racket of the emperor. They are the eunuchs. Emperor loved playing tennis in the Forbidden City.